His mouth was on me like a man starved. His hunger wasn't gentle, it wasn't polite, it was ravenous. I had never known what it felt like to be consumed, not just touched, not just kissed, but devoured, as though every piece of me was a forbidden dish laid out before him. My body trembled beneath his, the room dimly lit, shadows dancing across the walls while my breath came out in sharp, shaky gasps. I whispered his name, though I shouldn't have. My fingers curled into the sheets, into him, into the moment that was so dangerously alive. My husband was miles away, maybe sitting in front of the TV with a beer in hand, believing his wife was running errands, or out late with a friend. But here I was, pinned, melting, unraveling under another man's appetite. He called me his sushi. He said I was too delicate, too soft, too perfect not to taste. And taste me he did, again and again, until I felt both worshipped and destroyed. But before I take you further into this madness, before I peel back every layer of how I became a feast for a man who was never mine, let me pause, because I want you to stay with me through it all. Backhand index pointing right, medium skin tone. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with someone who dares to step into shadows like mine. Trust me, you won't regret it. This story is not for the faint-hearted. Now, let me take you back to how it all started. I wasn't looking for him. That's the truth I keep telling myself, even now. I wasn't searching for passion, or lust, or someone to devour me like I was the last sweet thing on earth. I was a married woman. A wife who kept her house clean, cooked dinners, kept schedules, kept secrets. A wife who smiled at neighborhood barbecues and posted cute couple photos online even when, behind closed doors, we were more like distant roommates than lovers. My husband, Daniel, was a good man on paper. Hardworking, dependable, faithful. But he was also predictable, flat, routine to the point of suffocation. We shared a bed, but not intimacy. We shared a life, but not passion. And little by little, a hunger started inside me, a hunger I ignored until one night, it got fed by the wrong set of hands. It was a Thursday, oddly enough, that set everything in motion. I'd gone out to a new sushi bar downtown with a group of coworkers. The place was buzzing, dim lights, neon accents, a low hum of laughter and music. That's where I first saw him. Ethan. He wasn't with our group, he wasn't even near us at first. He sat at the bar, dark hair falling just above his eyes, sharp jawline, lips that looked like sin itself. He had that careless confidence that made women glance twice and men silently hate him. I noticed him the way you notice fire, dangerous, but mesmerizing. I caught him watching me once. Then twice. By the third time, he smirked, like he knew a secret I didn't. Later that night, after too many drinks, I excused myself from the table. He intercepted me near the restroom hallway. Why? You don't belong with them, he said, voice smooth, low. I blinked at him, surprised. Excuse me? He leaned in slightly, not enough to be improper, but enough for his cologne to wrap around me like smoke. You smile like you're having fun. But your eyes are starving. I should have walked away. I should have brushed it off. But instead, my heart tripped over itself, because for the first time in years, someone saw me. The weeks that followed were a blur of stolen glances, late-night texts, excuses that grew easier to tell. He called me his sushi the first night we kissed, his hands trembling but eager, his mouth lingering on my skin like it was rare delicacy. You don't rush sushi, he murmured, his lips at my neck. You savor it. Piece by piece. Bite by bite. And God help me, I let him. I had never felt so alive, so craved, so undone. But I had also never felt so guilty. Every touch was fire, every kiss was betrayal. And yet, I kept going back. Because once you've been devoured, ordinary life tastes like ash. Now, sitting here retelling this, I feel my heart racing the same way it did that night. I know some of you are judging me already, but some of you understand. You've lived in a marriage that starved you, you've met someone who awakened you, you've crossed a line and told yourself it was just once, until it wasn't. And that's why I'm telling this story anonymously. Because my husband never found out. Because to this day, I wear my ring and smile at him over dinner. But in my mind, in my body, I still remember being devoured. Fire, if you're still with me, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. What I'm about to share next is where the danger truly began, because what starts as a taste always turns into hunger. And hunger is never satisfied. Ethan had a way of making the world tilt. Every time I was near him, it felt like reality bent and reshaped itself. I wasn't a wife anymore. I wasn't a woman bound to routines, to the invisible chains of predictability. I was something else. Desired. Wanted. Hungered for. He became my mirage in the desert of my marriage, a vision of passion that I chased, knowing it might vanish if I reached too hard. That's how it always began with him, like slipping into a dream I couldn't wake from. The first time I went to his apartment, I told Daniel I had a late meeting. I said it with a straight face, no hesitation, and he didn't question me. That was the part that stung most. He didn't even doubt me. He kissed my cheek, handed me his coffee mug, and went back to the TV like I wasn't carrying a secret that could destroy him. When I reached Ethan's door, my hands trembled. I wasn't nervous because of guilt. No, I was nervous because of the ache. The anticipation. The need that coiled in my stomach like a living thing. He opened the door barefoot, shirt unbuttoned just enough to tease the edge of his chest. His eyes found mine immediately, dark and hungry, like he'd been pacing and waiting. "You came," he said simply. I swallowed hard. "Yeah. I came." His smile was wicked. "Not yet. But you will." And with that, he pulled me in, slammed the door shut, and pressed me against it as though the world outside ceased to exist. His kiss was fire, his hands rough and demanding, his body already telling mine what it needed. Lust has a way of rewriting logic. I knew what I was doing was wrong, but when he laid me across his couch, whispering how much he craved me, guilt dissolved like sugar in hot water. His hunger erased everything, my name, my vows, my doubts. He devoured me again, every kiss, every touch, every sound he pulled from me. And I didn't stop him. I didn't want to. I became addicted, not to Ethan himself, but to the way he made me feel. Like I wasn't invisible. Like I wasn't another wife stuck in a dead routine. Like I wasn't tired. But here's the twist. The more I let him consume me, the more I realized he wasn't just giving me what I craved. He was taking more of me every time. My body, my nights, my excuses, my thoughts. Ethan was the kind of man who didn't just love intensely, he devoured recklessly. And I was his perfect prey. There were nights he'd keep me until dawn, knowing I had to rush back home and pretend nothing happened. I'd crawl into bed beside Daniel, my skin still humming from Ethan's touch, my lies heavy on my lips. Daniel never stirred. Never asked why I smelled of perfume I didn't wear for him. And that's when I began to see it, Ethan wasn't just my lover. He was my mirage. The illusion of something I thought I wanted, something that promised to quench the thirst inside me, but the closer I reached, the further he slipped away. Because no matter how much he devoured, I was still hungry. Hungry for more. Hungry for something I couldn't name. Kiss mark. Before I go deeper into what happened next, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video if you're still with me. Because trust me, the heat only gets worse from here. The night that changed everything was at a hotel downtown. Ethan told me he couldn't stand quick moments anymore. He wanted hours. He wanted the whole night. I told Daniel I was staying with a coworker after a late work event. He barely looked up from his phone, muttered, "Okay, babe," and that was that. My chest tightened, not from guilt, but from the realization that my absence didn't even ripple his world. Ethan, on the other hand, was waiting in the hotel lobby with a room key and a look in his eyes that set my skin on fire. That night wasn't about lust, it was about ownership. He didn't just kiss me, he claimed me. He didn't just undress me, he tore every layer of decency off until there was nothing left but raw need. At one point, when my body begged him to slow down, he leaned over me, sweat dripping, voice hoarse, and whispered, "You'll always come back. Because I don't give you a choice. I don't just touch you. I take you." And he was right. I kept coming back. Again and again. But each time, I felt the exhaustion. Not just in my body, but in my soul. He was my escape, my fire, my mirage. But he was also draining me. And deep inside, I knew it, he would never be satisfied. And I would never be whole again. I used to think I was in control. That I could stop whenever I wanted. But the truth? Ethan had me wrapped around his hunger, and I didn't even fight it. Every time I swore this is the last time, I'd find myself in his arms again, unraveling, surrendering. It wasn't love. No, it was something darker, deeper, sharper. It was an addiction, and he was the drug. One night, after another reckless escape, I sat in my car outside my house. My hands were still trembling, my lips swollen, my thighs aching from Ethan's unrelenting touch. The house in front of me looked so calm, lights off, curtains drawn, the kind of silence that meant Daniel was already asleep. I sat there for 10 minutes, staring at the front door, wondering if my husband could smell the betrayal on me. Wondering if he'd noticed the way my body shook with exhaustion, not from work, but from being devoured again and again. When I finally walked in, Daniel didn't even stir. I showered, climbed into bed beside him, and while he breathed evenly, I lay there wide awake, haunted by Ethan's words. "You'll never get enough of me. And I'll never stop." He wasn't wrong. The next day, Ethan texted me in the middle of the afternoon. "Meet me. I need you. Now." I stared at the screen, pulse racing. My body said yes instantly, even as my mind screamed no. I told myself I'd ignore him, but minutes later, I was already in my car, driving to him like I was programmed. When I got there, he didn't even waste time with greetings. He pulled me inside, slammed the door, and his lips were on mine like a man starved. His hands bruised my hips, his breath hot against my neck as he whispered, "You don't get to say no to me. You're mine." And God help me, I let him. I let him take, again and again, until my legs shook and my body felt drained of every ounce of energy. But here's the secret I never said out loud, even when I left his place, weak and exhausted, I wanted more. I craved more. I hated myself for it, but I still wanted it. Sometimes I'd look at myself in the mirror after being with him. My hair messy, my skin flushed, my lips bitten raw. I barely recognized the woman staring back at me. She wasn't a wife anymore. She wasn't the quiet woman who once cooked dinner, folded laundry, and fell asleep early. No. She was wild. Reckless. Consumed. She was me, and yet, she wasn't. But then came the cracks. There were days I couldn't hide how drained I was. Daniel started asking, "You okay, babe? You look tired." And I'd laugh it off, blame work, blame stress, blame anything but the truth. Because how could I tell him? How could I admit that while he was at home trusting me, I was across town letting another man consume me until I could barely stand? High voltage. Hey, if you're still here listening to me pour this out, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it. Trust me, what's coming next is the part that will shock you the most. High voltage. The turning point came during one of our hotel nights. Ethan had pushed me to my limits, dragging every ounce of strength from me, and as I lay there trembling, barely able to move, he leaned over me and whispered, "See? You're nothing without me. I own your body now. Even when you go back home, you'll still feel me. Every single time." And damn it, he was right. I could still feel him even when I was lying next to Daniel, pretending to be a faithful wife. I hated him for it. But I hated myself even more. Because I knew, I wasn't ready to stop. Not yet. I wish I could tell you I walked away. That I found the strength to cut Ethan off before he swallowed me whole. But the truth? I didn't. I couldn't. By then, he had carved his name into my skin, into my thoughts, into the deepest parts of me I never showed anyone. He wasn't just my secret, he was my escape. And my prison. One evening, I came home later than usual. My hair smelled faintly of his cologne, and though I had showered, my skin still burned from his touch. Daniel sat at the kitchen table, sipping coffee even though it was past 9. His eyes lingered on me longer than usual. "You've been tired a lot lately," he said. "Yeah. Work's been heavy," I replied quickly, not even looking at him. He nodded, but the way his eyes narrowed told me he wasn't fully convinced. My chest tightened. For the first time, I wondered if he could sense the shift. Not the truth, but the weight of it. That night, I lay beside him, pretending to be asleep, while inside I was breaking. The next morning, Ethan called me instead of texting. His voice came through low, rough, commanding. "Meet me. Don't think. Just come." I should have said no. God, I should have. But instead, I found myself driving to him again, hands trembling on the wheel. When I arrived, he didn't waste a second. He pulled me in, kissed me hard, his hunger overwhelming. And though I gave in like I always did, something in me felt different. I wasn't floating anymore. I wasn't drunk on his fire. For the first time, I felt the chains. Later, as I tried to leave, Ethan grabbed my wrist, his grip firm, eyes burning with a mix of obsession and possession. "You're mine. Don't forget that." The words chilled me. They weren't sweet. They weren't tender. They were a warning. And deep down, I realized, I wasn't his Mirage anymore. I was his hostage. For days, I carried his words like a weight. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I'd look at Daniel across the dinner table and feel the stabbing ache in my chest. Not because he suspected anything, but because he didn't. He still trusted me. He still looked at me with the same quiet love he always had. And me? I was betraying him every time I let Ethan touch me. High voltage quick pause. If you're here, still following my truth, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who might need to hear how dangerous it is to let yourself fall too deep. Because what I'm about to say next, it's the moment I realized I was too far gone. High voltage. It happened one night when I told Ethan I couldn't see him. Daniel was sick, and I needed to stay home. But Ethan didn't take no for an answer. He showed up outside my house. I'll never forget the way my stomach dropped when I saw his car parked 2 blocks away, his silhouette waiting in the dark. He texted me. "Come out. I don't care if he's home. You're mine." My hands shook as I read it. My throat went dry. Suddenly, this wasn't about desire anymore, it was about control. In the end, he was my burning fire and my coldest storm. Ethan turned my body into his playground, made my lips his temple, and my soul his battlefield. I became his lustful propeller, spinning deeper even when exhaustion clawed at my bones. He devoured me until I couldn't tell if I was alive from pleasure or dying from surrender. But the truth? I loved it. I hated it. I needed it. Even now, lying beside the man who wears my ring, I sometimes close my eyes and taste Ethan's hunger on my skin. I remember the way his hands mapped me like forbidden territory, the way his voice dragged confessions from my mouth I never knew existed. He was my Mirage, too intoxicating to resist, too dangerous to keep. I walked away, yes. I buried him in the shadows of my memory. But desire doesn't bury easy. It lingers. It whispers. It waits. So tonight, as I confess this secret to you, I leave you with this truth: love can heal, lust can burn, but when both collide, they create a storm you may never outrun. And Ethan? He will always be the storm I crave in silence. I wish I could tell you I walked away. That I found the strength to cut Ethan off before he swallowed me whole. But the truth? I didn't. I couldn't. By then, he had carved his name into my skin, into my thoughts, into the deepest parts of me I never showed anyone. He wasn't just my secret, he was my escape. And my prison. One evening, I came home later than usual. My hair smelled faintly of his cologne, and though I had showered, my skin still burned from his touch. Daniel sat at the kitchen table, sipping coffee even though it was past 9. His eyes lingered on me longer than usual. "You've been tired a lot lately," he said. "Yeah. Work's been heavy," I replied quickly, not even looking at him. He nodded, but the way his eyes narrowed told me he wasn't fully convinced. My chest tightened. For the first time, I wondered if he could sense the shift. Not the truth, but the weight of it. That night, I lay beside him, pretending to be asleep, while inside I was breaking. The next morning, Ethan called me instead of texting. His voice came through low, rough, commanding. "Meet me. Don't think. Just come." I should have said no. God, I should have. But instead, I found myself driving to him again, hands trembling on the wheel. When I arrived, he didn't waste a second. He pulled me in, kissed me hard, his hunger overwhelming. And though I gave in like I always did, something in me felt different. I wasn't floating anymore. I wasn't drunk on his fire. For the first time, I felt the chains. Later, as I tried to leave, Ethan grabbed my wrist, his grip firm, eyes burning with a mix of obsession and possession. "You're mine. Don't forget that." The words chilled me. They weren't sweet. They weren't tender. They were a warning. And deep down, I realized, I wasn't his mirage anymore. I was his hostage. For days, I carried his words like a weight. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I'd look at Daniel across the dinner table and feel the stabbing ache in my chest. Not because he suspected anything, but because he didn't. He still trusted me. He still looked at me with the same quiet love he always had. And me? I was betraying him every time I let Ethan touch me. High voltage quick pause. If you're here, still following my truth, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who might need to hear how dangerous it is to let yourself fall too deep. Because what I'm about to say next, it's the moment I realized I was too far gone. High voltage. It happened one night when I told Ethan I couldn't see him. Daniel was sick, and I needed to stay home. But Ethan didn't take no for an answer. He showed up outside my house. I'll never forget the way my stomach dropped when I saw his car parked 2 blocks away, his silhouette waiting in the dark. He texted me. "Come out. I don't care if he's home. You're mine." My hands shook as I read it. My throat went dry. Suddenly, this wasn't about desire anymore, it was about control. I should have been free by now. I should have closed that door, locked it, and swallowed the key. But lust doesn't work like that. Lust clings. It carves itself into your skin, into your breath, into the quietest corners of your mind until it owns you, whether you want it or not. I was lying in bed beside my husband one night. His arm was draped around me, steady and calm, but my body wasn't calm. My body remembered Ethan. My body remembered the way he devoured me like I was his last meal on earth. Even when my husband's lips brushed my shoulder, I didn't feel here. I felt there, with Ethan. And that's when I realized, Ethan hadn't left me. His shadow still lived inside me. Before I go deeper, let me pause. If you've been following my story until now, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who dares to listen to forbidden confessions like mine. It keeps me going, keeps me brave enough to tell you the unfiltered truth. Back to Ethan. It had been weeks since I swore him off. Weeks since I said no more, that I'd bury him in silence and try to be whole again. But then came that night. That damn night when my phone lit up, and his name appeared. Just 3 words. You miss me. I stared at it for a long time, heart racing, palms sweating. I should have deleted it. I should have blocked him again. But my thumb hovered, trembling, burning, until finally I typed back. More than I should. And just like that, the door I swore to keep shut swung wide open again. I knew what it meant. I knew his message wasn't just words, it was a hook. And me? I was still his fish, thrashing in waters I couldn't escape. The next day, I walked into the grocery store with my husband, pushing the cart, pretending to laugh at his small jokes. But inside, I was carrying a secret that pulsed like wildfire in my veins. Ethan was back. Ethan wanted me again. And deep down, I wanted him too. Do you understand what it feels like to live 2 lives? To smile sweetly as a wife, while inside, a storm rages, whispering another man's name against your bones? That's me. That's why I stay anonymous. And when Ethan and I finally met again, it wasn't just lust anymore, it was hunger. His hands claimed me like I'd been starving, like I belonged to no one but him. My exhaustion, my resistance, they didn't matter. I became his propeller again, pushing him higher, spinning into reckless pleasure until neither of us could tell where one body ended and the other began. But when it was over, when I lay there catching my breath, guilt pressed against my chest harder than his weight ever did. Because the truth is, my husband will never know. And Ethan? Ethan will never stop haunting me. This is why I call it my mirage. My nightmare dressed as pleasure. My secret curse. I am both wife and sinner, loved and devoured, whole and broken. And maybe, just maybe, I'll never escape him. So if you're listening, if you're still here at the end of my confession, subscribe.